Today I've had the chance to interview the two producers that worked on the hit release Flock Together by BigWalkDog and Gucci Mane. In this video, these producers will be sharing every tip and trick used to earn that major placement. I can confidently guarantee that if you follow every single tip mentioned in this video, you'll have a much clearer strategy on how you can get there yourself. The first thing I want to ask is, how did you actually start making beats and how long have you been doing this for?
Basically, I started back in 2018 and I was 17 years old. And then I've taken it more seriously from like 2 years ago. Then I joined in Hypn. I was making almost 2 or 3 loops, 2 or 3 beats. That's the way I started.
And what about you, Hefty?
I started making beats back in like 2011, 2012. I was like 11, 12 years old. But this is also when people was like trying to sound like Chief Keef back in like 2012, 2013. I didn't want to be Chief Keef. I wanted to be Young Chop.
So you're a real veteran. Like, you've been doing this for a minute now.
I wouldn't call myself a vet, but I'm trying to get there.
How did you actually meet? Because like Hefty, you live in the US, Rivi, you're from Italy. How does that work?
So I'm actually somehow, I think I got in touch with some other producers in that same collective. And you know, you guys always collaborate. So he'll end up on a project or like a loop that somebody else is working on. And then they probably sent it to me. Somehow I got on it. And that's how we ended up linking up. Either I DM him or he DM me on Instagram. It was one of those.
Can you guys actually show me how the beat was produced?
Yeah, let's do it. I was working for an Italian major artist, and I still remember I made this melody for him. And then actually the day later, I started to flip it because I was hearing like a Memphis type of vibe. So I started to like slow it down with BPMs because like the first original project was around 170 BPMs and now it's 145. I started to mess around with like all the samples took from Splice and like the riffs. I used this strategy, like the concept at the beginning of this loop is like stretching, using guitars, for example. Take this guitar, use a lot the stretch option to like try to make it like slower. I've made it with like different type of layers. For example, I took this flute and I've just used this. I just pitched down it of some semitones, and then I started layering around different guitars. That was made by stretching the original sample and just trying to cut different section of it, and the same concept for everything around. I love this riff. This one is crazy. And I also layered down 2 different textures from Contact. One of them was this sound. I like this kind of horror type vibe, and that's the other pattern. There's like the standard Memphis piano playing some chords. And another accent.
Here's the hi-hats. I'm sure you guys can tell it's a simple 2-step with a little bit of rolls in there, something to switch it up. And then the rim. Then we get into the 808 pattern. Here's the kick. Wasn't trying to go for anything too complicated. The melody already had a lot of sounds, so I didn't want to keep it crazy. Here's this one. I think this is what caught their attention.
That's crazy.
This. If you guys listen to the song that, like the final mix, I think they might have turned this down a little bit. I think if they would have kept it how it was originally, would have been even harder. And here we have a little counter snare.
Hearing the beat, like the drums are quite simple, kind of like standard, and then the melody is a little bit more complex. How much do you think producers need to actually complexify the beats? Or do you feel like artists in general, they're more likely to use a very simple beat?
I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. I think depending on the artist, you have to have an ear for what they like to rap on already. So if you listen to their music and it's already, you hear a lot of sounds and like the mixes are, they're all over the place, then then maybe that person they're not gonna be too picky about like your beat, like your sound selection or anything. So you could like be creative as you want. But now somebody like Lil Baby, the mixes are always like, they have to be standard. Everything has to be standard. It's not like there isn't a lot of sounds in it.
Would you think that it makes more sense for the producer to develop a sound around an artist? So for example, if my objective is to place Lil Baby, then I'm going to try to make as many beats as I can in that style. Or do you think it's better to try to develop your own sound and then kind of like see where your beats end up?
If you're just starting out producing, you should probably get a feel for the software that you're using and get used to it first. So in that process in itself, you'll like create your own sound. You'll make beats, and that's when you'll like determine what you want to do. But then from there, like I think of it like a ladder. I think from there, the next thing you can do after that is try it. If you want to work with a Lil Baby, then yeah, you're gonna want to make Lil Baby type beats. But you also don't want to make something that Lil Baby's already rapped on 10 times. So incorporate your sound.
Thing that I really enjoy to do is like listening to all type of songs from also different genres, and also like rap songs from like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, just to know better the sound selection over those beats. Been also try to grind with also different genres, and in my opinion, for a producer nowadays, it's really cool to try to learn new things and just try to find your own path. But if you can experimenting with other type of genres, at the end of the day, you can get your all knowledge in one point, and you can be more inspired at making new crazy stuff.
Going back to Flock Together, so how did you manage to get the beat placed?
I already had WalkDog's number because I was already sending him beats prior. Like I've already had songs placed with him, so we already had a connection. I just think it was by chance, and also the fact that he liked the beat. It was in his style, so I sent out the beat probably like, I don't know, a couple days later. He told me he was gonna get on the beat by telling me that he was gonna get Gucci Mane on it.
So he told you like you already knew. Like I thought you found out that Gucci was on it, but he actually told you before.
No sir, he called me and was like, yeah, I'm about to get Gucci Mane on this beat. So I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
okay, well somebody's using it.
And what was the reaction when you found out you have like such a legend using your beat?
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I used to listen to WAP as a kid, so it still don't feel real to me.
I still remember that day I had the flu. I was in my bed, and like FT texted me and said, yo bro, we got one with Gucci and BigWalkDog, and I said, what? I can't believe that like I placed Gucci. Of course I grew up listening to Gucci music, so that was like, damn bro, I'm achieving it from Italy.
Can you say more on how that connection was built? Like what are your tips on making connections with big names in the industry?
This one specifically, he himself posted on his own story, send beats to this email. That's what I did. Me being a producer, I sent like probably like 100 beats to that email before I heard back. And then I think it probably took like 3 months of me sending beats. I won't say I sent beats every day, but I probably sent like 3 beats like every 4 or 5 days. I remember I got an email back saying like, oh, send me your number. So I sent him my number. Probably didn't hear back from him again for like another 2 months, not gonna lie. I thought that shit was gone and in the wind. But then out of nowhere, he called me. I missed the call, but I got a text saying, this is WalkDog, send all the beats here. And then after that, yeah, I just kept sending beats through, and then we landed. As far as like trying to land with more major artists, I'd say it's probably like cliche, but you have to pretty much like you have to keep up with their sound. Like you have to move with what they're doing in the moment, and then going into Genius and looking at the credits, and then looking these people up like on social media and sending out a DM is gonna increase your chances by like 10 times. And you just sending out emails, sending out loops, and like if they don't know who you are in the first place, I don't see them opening your email over somebody else that they're already working with.
That's true. Sometimes be consistent is the key for locking a good producer or like a major producer.
The opportunity you had here, Hefty, is I think one of the classic ones, right? Like the artist, or it can be a producer as well, has their email put publicly, so in a story or whatever, and you were smart enough to take that opportunity, so to get that email. But what maybe 90% of people would have done is they try to send a couple emails, they don't get no replies, and then it kind of ends there. But what you did is something that all producers have to do, is to stick with it. Like if you've got the contact, you guys know that placements take forever. Like you can send out a beat, and then 2 years later you're gonna hear like Gucci Mane on that song. Like it makes no sense. This is kind of more of like a broad questions, but imagine you're back to square one, right? So you're producers, you both have experience under your belt, but imagine you're just starting out, you don't have no followers, you don't have social proof, you have nothing. What are some things you can do to maybe not get a placement, because we know that takes time, but to really set yourself up for success success? What do you think you have to do today in 2024?
At the first place, what I will do will be like just to try to watch some tutorials about how to make beats for like just learning the basics, and then just try every day to like be on FL Studio, try to be more concentrated to your craft. It takes time to be like, of course, more skilled and experienced. I will start to make loops earlier and send them out as much as I can.
Confidence is a big thing, so I would like master my own sound and make sure that my beats are good enough to turn into like MP3 that I could play in the car, and then I'm taking that shit to a beat battle, and I want to hear your best versus my best. That's how I'm gonna go. That's how I'm going up. Use social media to your advantage, and then don't forget about your business. Make sure the business is always in order. Your paperwork is always in order, because you're not dropping nothing if it's not. I try to like get into studio sessions. That's another one. If you want to get close to an artist, like if you have to have like an image in order to get next to an artist. So you want to get next to these people and build like a connection with them, you have to be a likable personality. You got to be somebody that they would talk to on a daily basis, pretty much. So I'm trying to get into these studio sessions and get like to know these people. And
Yeah,
again, it goes back to confidence.
How did you make your first dollar producing, and what does it take to do it to be a producer full time today?
I see the first money from making music back in quarantine in 2020, because I was basically doing like a mix and mastering service on Fiverr for like $10,
Nice.
and I was making pretty good to be the beginning also for me, because I wasn't very skilled at making mix and mastering. Being a music producer in 2024, it's like try to take money from different type of parts, like the content creation, but also like working with artists, build your catalog up, and also from selling drum kits.
I made my first dollar off music probably like 10 years ago with like some local rapper probably buying my beat. But I'll say like my first like legit sale on a platform probably like a couple of years ago. I ain't gonna lie, I wouldn't rely too much on platforms for placements. I think I'd use that more for like networking or like trying to get my sound out there. Realistically, in order to live off of your music, there's more aspects to living off of your music than just making the beats. You have to be able to sell your music. You have to be able to market your music. You have to be able to get your stuff out there. More so like entrepreneurship.
Any transparent tips, any honest things you want to say to producers? It can be like a tip, but it can also be a word of motivation, just to wrap up the video. Whatever you want to say, if you have anything you want to say.
Keep your motivation. That shit gonna teach you a lot about yourself. Stay confident, stay focused. It takes a lot of time.
Try to make your own thing every day. Be constant every day. You have to try to get some time to be able to make beats or sample. Find a balance with like your own life and just try to live it at the fullest.
I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and if you have any specific questions you'd like to ask future producers. I personally really enjoyed this format, so if you guys want to see more of these videos, just drop a like, a comment, and let me know. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.